Hello, parents. This is another video to try and help support learning at home, talking a little bit about strategic reading, how to really get that brain involved in thinking. Basically, it's very important to understand that reading takes two major processes. We have to be able to figure out the words, and we really have to be able to understand and comprehend them. I hear a lot of parents sometimes say, "Oh, well, my child can read, they just can't comprehend." And in fact, reading means they can decode it and comprehend it. When we look at students who are having difficulties with reading, some do struggle with the decoding aspect and figuring out those words and understanding the phonetic side. But comprehension is just one of those huge things that we can become better at by kind of putting some strategies in place. So, the decoding strategies, there's another video on the webpage that you can kind of look at those that reading toolbox of tools for figuring out words. But when we talk about comprehension, we talk about strategies. And I always tell the kids a strategy is a plan for success. If I ask them to walk across the room from the door to the kitchen table and close their eyes, they aren't just going to walk. They're going to kind of tiptoe slowly. They're going to reach their hands out in front of them. They might like ask for some cues from somebody else. Oh, tell me when to stop. Do I go right? Do I go left? All of that is a plan. It's a strategy for success. And reading requires strategic thinking, a plan of what are you going to do so that you really will understand what's going on. This strategic reading on these reading strategies need to happen before, during, and after reading. So you don't just jump right into a text ready to attack it. You have to kind of start off and think, okay, before I read, what do I notice from the front cover? What kind of book is it? Is it really going to be about facts, nonfiction, or is it really going to be doing more of a story structure, whether it's fiction or nonfiction story? But kind of looking, what are we going to look for before we start? And then during reading, it's really using those strategies to be thinking about what's happening right now. Am I paying enough attention? Do I understand why this event is important? And then after is really kind of stopping to put it all together. Do I remember what I've read? Can I tie it to something else I've already read? Can I really think back to what are the main points and be able to differentiate the little things to the big? And we can model each one of these strategies by using what we call a think aloud. And a think aloud is when we kind of try and make apparent what's happening in our head to our student, to our child. And so as you're reading, you can model and always say, you know what, I'm kind of thinking this right now, and this is helping me understand. So the best way to really teach those reading strategies by modeling using that think aloud. This is what's happening in my head. So we're going to talk about some specific reading strategies, and I will put a little handout on the website, the resource section of some reading strategy cards. But the very first strategy is making predictions, and that's just simply thinking about what's going to happen next in the story. Predict how will it progress, or how is it going to end, or if this character is doing this, what do you think they'll do next? For a nonfiction story, we're going to really make predictions about from the title, the table of contents. Okay, this book is all about bees. And this chapter seems like it's about how they reproduce. This next chapter is all about collecting pollen. And by using those table of contents to figure out the main idea. Making predictions is really about thinking what's going to happen next. Making connections is huge because the new knowledge that we're taking and new information needs to be connected to what we already know. In school, we kind of talk about different kinds of connections. A text to self connection is I'm connecting myself to something that happened in the story. If the main character fell down and scraped their knee, maybe I have done that before and I can connect to their feelings and what happened because I experienced it. Text to text connection is really saying, hey, this book connects to this book because maybe the characters are similar, maybe the information, the topics are similar, but one text, one story connects to another. And then text to world is really taking that text and connecting it to something that's happening in the news, something that's happening in a movie, something beyond just the written form. You kind of do making connections to really understand that what I'm reading connects to what I already know. Visualizing is key. Visualizing goes more than just picturing it. It's really kind of using all of those senses. What do you see? What do you smell? What taste do you think you'd expect? What would you feel? What are you going to hear? It's really creating that mental movie that's going on. As I read with my kids at home all the time, I'd ask them, tell me what you're picturing in your head at this time. And they can't picture what's going on in the story. They aren't paying attention to it, and that's that cue to go back and reread it. But visualizing is super important. Sometimes it's worth stopping and drawing a quick picture of this is what's happening. And students should be able to kind of identify character, setting, problem, solution, all of those main events, and be able to picture them in their head. Clarifying is that modeling, as I was just saying, of just kind of stopping and checking to make sure they're understanding. Hey, does this go with what I'm thinking is happening? Am I paying attention? Am I able to identify the key information? Is there something I don't understand, or something I missed, or something I misread? And so clarifying, a good reader is always kind of just checking, am I getting it, or do I need to go back and try it again? Asking questions is huge. I think oftentimes we, as parents or teachers, we're the ones asking the questions, but we also want the kids to be asking questions. Hey, what are you wondering right now? Like, if we just learn this, what are you wondering? And using those words, I wonder, can always start a question. It's interesting if you start with I wonder, the next word is a question word. I wonder if the character is going to do this. I wonder why the character did that. I wonder how the author knew. So asking questions helps really get the reader involved as well. Making inferences, this is a huge one. Making inferences, really taking what the student already knows, and then they're going to combine it with their own idea. So it says this in the story, I know this, and so I can put it together. I can prove my points with ideas from the text. I can find that text proof. You've heard the kids talk about that all the time. I don't just know this answer. I can find the text proof because right here in the story, it says this. And what do I understand better after I'm reading it? That making inferences really gets into theme and main idea. Hey, I can learn this life lesson because this character did this. So it says, I say, and so I put it together. That's making an inference or inferring. I think we also, when we grew up, called it drawing conclusions. Same concept. We're putting that information together. So in short, I hope this video helped you learn a little bit about reading strategies. Simply put, a strategy is a plan for success. And your child, as they're reading, should be using reading strategies to plan for successful thinking and comprehending of the story. Make sure to model it using that think aloud. A lot of it is conversation. So really encourage your child to talk about what they're reading and enjoy. Look for those strategy cards as a resource. Thank you.